It was a gray Tuesday when everything changed. I sat in my living room, sipping my coffee, scrolling through my emails. That was when I saw it. The subject line caught my attention. "I'm so sorry, Alara." My heart raced as I clicked it open. Lila, my supposed friend, had sent me a message that shattered my world. In it, she confessed her love for my husband, Benjamin. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. "I never meant to hurt you," she wrote, but the damage was done. Betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. I could hardly breathe as I reread Lila's message. "We've been together for months," it continued. I felt my heart drop. Months? How could he do this to me? I had trusted Benjamin with everything. The thought of him being with her twisted something deep inside me. The pain was visceral, like a wound that would not stop bleeding. "Why, Benjamin?" I whispered to myself, my voice trembling with emotion. I could almost hear his laughter in the other room, his carefree spirit completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. The image of him with Lila made me feel sick. I had built my life around him, and now it felt like a house of cards waiting to collapse. But in that moment of despair, something stirred within me. A flicker of clarity broke through the haze of heartbreak. I would not be a victim. I refused to let this betrayal define me. "You will pay for this, Benjamin," I muttered under my breath, the determination settling in. I could feel my power returning, like a dormant volcano finally awakening. As I sat there, anger and pain slowly morphed into resolve. I would reclaim my life, my power. I would take control of this situation. I would not let Benjamin's infidelity go unpunished. The thought of revenge was intoxicating. How could he betray me and think there would be no consequences? "I will make you regret it," I said aloud, my voice steady now. The words felt like a promise to myself. I wanted to hurt him, to make him feel the same pain he had inflicted on me. But more than that, I wanted to show him that I was not someone to be trifled with. I took a deep breath and wiped my tears away. My heart was still heavy, but I could feel a new fire igniting within me. I began to formulate a plan. I needed to gather evidence to know the full extent of Benjamin's betrayal. I needed to watch him, to study his every move. What time did he leave for work? When did he meet Lila? I would become a ghost in my own life, haunting him with the truth of his actions. As the day wore on, I found myself smiling at the thought of my revenge. My heart was still heavy, but the thrill of reclaiming my power was exhilarating. I had been a loving wife, and now I would become a force to be reckoned with. "Let the games begin," I whispered, a sly smile creeping across my face. The thought of Benjamin's face when he realized I knew the truth filled me with a sense of satisfaction. I could almost picture him, his brow furrowed in confusion, his eyes wide with the realization of what he had done. I would enjoy every moment of this. It was time for him to understand that betrayal comes with a price. With my heart racing and determination coursing through my veins, I stood up, ready to begin my new journey. I would not let this betrayal break me. I would rise from the ashes, stronger than ever. The stage was set, and the curtain was about to rise on the drama of my life. As I sat at my desk, the glow of my laptop screen illuminated my face, but it felt more like a spotlight on my pain. My heart raced as I replayed Lila's email in my mind. I could not let this betrayal define me. I had a mission now, a purpose. It was time to gather evidence. I started with Benjamin's daily routine. I had always known he was a creature of habit, but now I saw it as a map to his secrets. Every morning, he would leave for his run at 6:30. I decided to follow him, keeping a safe distance, my heart thumping with every step I took behind him. I watched him jog through the park, his usual route leading him to the coffee shop where he always stopped for a cup before heading to work. It was in that coffee shop, just a few days later, that I saw them together. Benjamin and Lila, laughing, their faces lit with something I once thought was reserved for us. I felt a rush of anger and sadness as I hid behind a nearby tree, listening to their conversation. "I missed you last night," Lila said, her voice sweet and playful. "I had a meeting, but I thought about you the whole time," Benjamin replied, his smile wide and genuine. The words pierced through me like a knife. I took a deep breath and reminded myself of my strength. I was not going to be a victim. I was going to collect the evidence I needed to prove his betrayal. Over the next few weeks, I turned into a quiet investigator. I took notes on their meetings, their shared moments. Every time I saw them together, my determination grew. My phone became my ally as I snapped pictures of their rendezvous, capturing the smiles I once thought were meant for me. One afternoon, I approached the gym where Benjamin worked out. I knew he would be there, and I planned to catch him leaving. As I waited, my heart pounded in my chest. A few minutes later, he walked out, and I quickly snapped a photo of him. But my breath caught in my throat when I noticed Lila waiting for him at the entrance. "Hey, I thought we could grab lunch," she said, her eyes sparkling. Benjamin's smile faded slightly as he glanced around, scanning the area before nodding. "Sure, let's go." I felt like a thief, stealing moments that belonged to my past. But this was no longer about love. It was about justice. Each encounter fueled my emotional turmoil, transforming it into a drive for revenge. I could not shake the feeling that Lila was not just a lover. She was a thief of my happiness and trust. Why does he even like her? I muttered to myself as I sat alone in my car, clenching the steering wheel. What does she have that I don't? I shook my head, pushing those thoughts aside. It didn't matter. I was gathering the pieces of a puzzle that would reveal the truth. I needed to show him what he had lost, and the evidence I was collecting would be my weapon. As I sat in my car, I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was anger, yes, but there was also a sense of clarity. I was doing this for me. I wanted to reclaim my power, and nothing would stand in my way. One evening, I sat on my couch reviewing the photos I had taken. Each image was a reminder of the betrayal that had shattered my world. But they also reminded me of my strength, my resolve. With every photograph, I felt closer to my goal. I whispered to myself, I will not let this break me. I will make him see the truth. The determination within me grew stronger as I continued my investigation. I was no longer the woman who had been betrayed. I was becoming the architect of my own revenge. And with each passing day, I was one step closer to reclaiming my life. I had to play my cards carefully. Confronting Lila was my next step, but I needed to disguise my true intentions. I wanted to walk the line between friendship and manipulation, and I hoped to plant the seeds of doubt in her mind. I set up a casual meeting at a cafe, the kind of place where light chatter masked deeper intentions. As I walked into the cafe, my heart raced a little. I spotted Lila sitting at a corner table, her eyes glued to her phone. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of my purpose. Approaching her, I put on my best smile. "Hey, Lila, mind if I join you?" She looked up, surprised. "Ilara, sure, I didn't expect to see you here." I slid into the seat across from her, keeping my expression warm and friendly. "I thought we could have a little chat, get to know each other better." Lila seemed hesitant, but nodded. "Yeah, that sounds nice." We exchanged small talk for a while, but I could see the tension beneath the surface. I knew I had to steer the conversation in a direction that would create doubt and confusion. "So, how's everything going with Benjamin?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Her smile faltered slightly. "Oh, same old. He's busy with work." I noticed the slight flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "Busy? He hasn't mentioned anything new. I thought he'd be more around these days." Lila shrugged, a hint of discomfort creeping into her expression. Yeah, he's been working late a lot. I guess he just wants to get ahead. I nodded, letting her words hang in the air. You know, I've heard that sometimes when people are busy, it's because they're hiding something. She looked at me, her brow furrowing. What do you mean? I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice as if sharing a secret. I just mean that when someone is acting differently, it can raise alarms. I just hope everything is okay between you two. Her eyes widened, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. What do you mean by acting differently? I feigned innocence, maintaining my friendly demeanor. Oh, I don't know. I just think that relationships can be complicated, you know? Sometimes we see things without realizing it. Lila bit her lip, and I could see the doubt creeping in. I pressed on. I mean, Benjamin and I have been through rough patches too. It's all about communication, right? Right, she replied, though her voice sounded less certain. As our conversation continued, I carefully crafted each word to keep her on edge. I wanted her to second-guess Benjamin, to feel the anxiety that I had once felt. I could see her starting to unravel, and it made me feel powerful. Later that week, I noticed Benjamin acting strange. He seemed restless and suspicious. I used this to my advantage. I played the role of the enigmatic wife, keeping him off balance. You seem tense, Benjamin. Everything okay? I would ask, watching him closely. He would shake his head, his hands running through his hair. Yeah, just work stuff. Nothing to worry about. I smiled sweetly, knowing that my little game was working. The emotional distance between us grew, and I relished every moment. Benjamin, who had once been so confident, was now the one who was anxious and confused. Are you sure you're all right? I would press, feigning concern. You know you can talk to me about anything. But I could see that he hesitated, unsure of what to say. The power had shifted, and I felt like I was finally in control. The tables had turned, and I was no longer the victim. My mind raced with thoughts of my plan. Each day, I watched as Benjamin's paranoia grew, and it thrilled me. I was orchestrating a game of manipulation, and I was determined to see it through. The revenge I had sought was becoming a reality, and I was ready to reclaim my power. As I lay in bed at night, I often thought about how far I had come. The pain of betrayal no longer consumed me. Instead, it fueled my newfound strength. I was not just playing a game. I was rewriting my story, and I was the one holding the pen. The storm raged outside, rain pounding against the windows like an angry drum. I could feel the tension in the air as I waited for Benjamin to come home. The swirling clouds mirrored the chaos inside me. I knew tonight would be the moment I had been preparing for. The truth would finally come to light. When the door opened, Benjamin stepped in, soaked to the bone. His eyes scanned the room, and I could see the worry etched on his face. Alara, what's going on? You've been acting strange lately, he said, shaking off his umbrella. I took a deep breath, holding my ground. We need to talk, Benjamin, about us. His expression shifted from concern to confusion. What do you mean? Is this about the arguments? I thought we were working through it. I shook my head. No, it's more than that. I know what you've been doing. A flicker of panic crossed his face, but he quickly masked it with anger. What are you talking about? You're being dramatic. I'm just trying to understand what's wrong. Dramatic? You think I'm being dramatic? My voice was steady, but inside, my heart raced. I have proof, Benjamin. Proof of your betrayal. He stepped back, disbelief washing over him. What proof? What are you saying? I pulled out my phone, feeling the weight of the evidence in my hand. You think I wouldn't notice? The late nights, the phone calls, the secret messages? I have photos, Benjamin. I have everything. His face turned pale as I showed him the pictures of him with Lila, laughing and sharing moments that were meant for us. This is a mistake! You can't believe this! he stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. "Why would I make this up? You've shattered my trust." I felt a surge of power as I confronted him, my voice steady and strong. "Lila is not just some fling. She's someone who stole my happiness and my trust." Benjamin ran a hand through his hair, the reality crashing down around him. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened." "Just happened? That's your excuse?" My heart ached, but I pushed through the pain. "You don't get to minimize this. You chose to betray me. You chose her over me." He looked lost, his eyes searching mine for answers that I couldn't provide. "Alara, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you." "Love? Is that what you call this?" I gestured to the evidence in my hand, my heart pounding with every word. "Your love is a lie, Benjamin. You've been living a double life, and it's over." His face crumbled, and for a moment, I could see the man I fell in love with, now buried beneath layers of guilt and shame. "I don't know what to do. I'm scared." "Scared?" I echoed, feeling a mix of anger and pity. "You should be scared. You've lost everything by your own choices." The storm outside intensified, mirroring the tempest of emotions swirling between us. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I took a step closer, my resolve unshaken. "I want you to understand the gravity of your actions. I want you to feel the weight of your betrayal." He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. "I can't believe this is happening. How did we get here?" "We got here because you didn't value what we had," I said, my voice calm but firm. "This is the end of the illusion, Benjamin. The life we built is shattered." He looked up, desperation in his eyes. "Is there any way back? Can we fix this?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "You've made your choices, and now we both have to deal with the consequences." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with the echoes of our shattered trust. I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me as I finally laid bare the truth. The storm outside continued to rage, but within me there was a calm. I had confronted my betrayer, and in doing so, I had taken back my power. As I sat on the edge of our once shared bed, the storm outside mirrored the chaos in my heart. Rain poured down in sheets, and the wind howled like a wild animal. But inside me, there was a strange calmness. I had faced the truth, and now it was Benjamin's turn to grapple with the consequences of his actions. I could hear him in the living room, pacing back and forth, his footsteps heavy with despair. "Why, Alara? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Benjamin's voice trembled, the pain evident in each word. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and stood up. I walked toward the living room, feeling stronger with each step. "You know why, Benjamin. You chose to betray me. You made your bed." I crossed my arms, feeling a surge of power as I looked him in the eye, his face twisted with confusion and regret. "But Lila, she meant nothing to me, I swear it." He was desperate, grasping at straws. "Does that make it better?" I asked, my voice steady and unwavering. "You broke my trust. You shattered everything we built together." I felt a rush of emotions, but I kept them in check. This was my moment, and I refused to let it slip away. As I watched him struggle with the weight of his choices, I felt liberated. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I was no longer the victim. I was reclaiming my identity. "You need to understand, Benjamin, this is not just about you. It's about me finding my strength again." "Strength?" he scoffed, running a hand through his hair. "You're talking about strength when I'm the one who's lost everything?" I stepped closer, my voice firm. "You had everything, Benjamin. You had love, trust, and a partner who believed in you. You threw it away for what? A fleeting moment with Lila? You need to face the truth of your actions." For a moment, Silence hung between us, thick and suffocating. I could see the realization dawning on him, the weight of his mistakes crashing down like the storm outside. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," he whispered, his voice cracking. I shook my head, the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "It doesn't matter what you meant. What matters is what you did. And now, you have to live with it." As he turned away, I saw the tears in his eyes, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then I remembered the nights spent wondering where he was, the moments I cried alone, and the trust that had been ripped from me. "You have to understand, I won't be your second choice anymore. I deserve better." "Is there any chance for us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, filled with a desperate hope. I took a step back, shaking my head slowly. "No, Benjamin, there's no going back. You've changed everything." I paused, letting my words sink in. "I need to focus on myself now. I need to rebuild my life." He looked at me, a mix of sorrow and regret etched across his face. "What will you do?" I straightened my posture, feeling a newfound sense of determination. "I will find my joy again. I will reconnect with my friends, rediscover my passions, and most importantly, I will learn to love myself again." "You're really serious about this," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. "I am," I replied, my heart pounding with conviction. "And you should be serious about facing the consequences of your choices. I'm done being the one who suffers in silence." As I turned to leave the room, I felt lighter, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. I would no longer allow Benjamin's actions to define me. I had my own journey to embark on, one filled with self-love and empowerment. The storm outside raged on, but inside, I felt a sense of calm. In that moment, I knew I was free. I sat in my favorite chair by the window, a warm cup of tea cradled in my hands. The light of the setting sun poured into the room, casting a golden glow over everything. I took a deep breath and reflected on the journey I had traveled, each twist and turn marked by betrayal, pain, and ultimately, empowerment. "Can you believe how far I've come?" I whispered to myself, a small smile creeping onto my lips. The ache of Benjamin's betrayal was still there, but it no longer held me captive. Instead, it had become fuel for my transformation. I remembered the early days of my heartbreak, the nights filled with tears, and the moments when despair threatened to swallow me whole. But I had fought back. I had chosen to reclaim my power. As I reminisced, I thought about the confrontation that had changed everything. "You think I don't know?" I had said to Benjamin, my voice steady despite the storm raging outside. His face had gone pale as I laid out the evidence of his infidelity, piece by piece. I could still feel the weight of that moment, the feeling of liberation washing over me as his world crumbled before my eyes. But now, I understood that my true victory did not lie in his suffering. It lay in the self-discovery I had achieved through this process. I had learned about my own strength, resilience, and ability to rise above the chaos. I was no longer the victim, but the architect of my own destiny. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts, feeling a sense of excitement at the thought of reconnecting with friends I had lost touch with during my marriage. I smiled as I tapped on Sarah's name. "Hey Sarah, it's Alara. I know it's been a while, but I'd love to catch up. How about coffee tomorrow?" "Of course! I've missed you," she replied almost instantly. The warmth in her words brightened my spirit. It felt good to reach out, to open myself up again. I could feel the walls I had built around my heart beginning to crack. Later that evening, as I prepared for bed, I looked at myself in the mirror. "You are enough," I said aloud, my voice echoing in the quiet room. I had spent so long doubting my worth, but now I was learning to embrace who I was, flaws and all. I had a newfound appreciation for my own happiness, and I was ready to live authentically. The next day, I met Sarah at our favorite cafe. The familiar scents of coffee and pastries wrapped around me like a warm embrace. As we chatted, catching up on life, I felt a sense of joy bubble up inside me. I shared my journey, the ups and downs, and how I was finally reclaiming my life. "I'm proud of you, Alara," Sarah said, her eyes shining with support. "It takes a lot of courage to face your past and move forward. You're an inspiration." "Thank you," I replied, feeling a flutter of gratitude. "I'm just starting to understand that my happiness is not tied to someone else. I can create my own joy." As we sipped our drinks and laughed, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The pain of betrayal was still a part of my story, but it no longer defined me. I was ready for the next chapter, one filled with authenticity, joy, and the freedom to be who I truly was. That evening, I stood by the window once more, looking out at the vibrant colors of the sunset. I felt strong and resolute, ready to face whatever came next. My past had shaped me, but it would not control my future. I had reclaimed my life and my happiness, and I was determined to live fully, without the shackles of my past. "Here's to new beginnings," I said softly, raising my cup of tea to the fading light. The world was full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them all. Share this story if you believe that true empowerment can emerge from the ashes of heartbreak. Comment below on how a moment of self-discovery has transformed your life, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.